first topic we're obviously going to talk about is going to be Solo, a Star Wars story, which is, of course, going to be our spoiler cast on it. So, yes, we will be spoiling elements of the movie, but as it stands, I don't think there's too much to spoil that hasn't already been out there, and you kind of know how the story goes. So it's like...
There's one spoiler for this movie, and everyone plastered it on the internet the second this movie came out.
So. Well, what was funny about it is IGN's main article was, "You won't believe who appears in Solo, a Star Wars story," with the picture of him.
Yeah,
and I was like,
that.
That's interesting. That's a good way to go about it, I guess.
There's another one as well. It's one of the big ones. It's like, oh, Darth Maul's in this. It's like, oh, thanks. I needed that one.
Oh, God. So, yeah, we're going to talk Solo, a Star Wars story now. There's not really too many spoilers to talk about here, but let's just get into it. So, Mitch, what did you think of the movie as a whole?
I stand by everything I said before.
Uh-huh.
Everything I said on here, I stand by completely. I enjoyed it. It's a fun 2 hours. Like, yep. It's kind of an ugly movie because it's all backlit and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Apart from that, no, it's fine. It's fun. It's not going to change anything, but it's fine.
Okay, now, how do you compare it to Rogue One? Because I know you have your problems with that movie.
Oh, it's far better than Rogue One.
Okay, so that's what I thought too.
There's actual characters in this for a start, so
yep.
Like plus.
So that's the thing. I know a lot of people want to be down on this movie, but watching this movie, it's a fully serviceable film, first and foremost, and it does a better job than I would say Rogue One at establishing and actually has characters. And what I think is really great about it was that Alden comes out there and I think he shuts people up about not being Han Solo, because there's moments in this movie where he's like talking at the side of his mouth, and the way he's moving, the way he like just moves his eyebrows when he's talking. I was like, no, dude, that's Han Solo. Like, you can understand why they had a coach on set for him, because they wanted him to convey some of those mannerisms of Han Solo, because he is a totally fine actor in this, and the fact he has to mimic someone yet make it his own, I think he kills it with the role. Like, I thought he did a phenomenal job.
Speaking of the mimicking stuff, a lot of people are going, oh, like, him and Donald Glover, they're just doing impressions of everyone. It's like, yeah, that's kind of the point. They're the same character.
Yeah.
Glover's doing a Billy D impression because Billy D was just Billy D when he played Lando. Right. Why would you do anything else? But no, they did fine.
I think that's a great way to describe it. It's like, no, they did fine. What they had was fine. I thought the worst character, honestly, was probably Kiara. Like, she didn't have much to do, and I feel like they probably cut out some of her elements. It was like, yeah, we don't have much for you to do here, so I just cut out some pieces.
Yeah, they cut something out. Well, they cut the entire 3-year thing out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, the most interesting part, let's just move past that. So, okay.
And it's not just that they cut that. It's like, when I look at it, right? I'm looking at it, I'm like, she's like, you won't believe what I've done. I'm like, well, maybe if I kind of had an idea of what you've done, maybe you come out and say, being like, I was sold into, like, slavery, and that's what I've done. That's why I'm branded. We never get that moment from her. So if we could have had 1 or 2 of those moments where we see the dark side come through her, like, not like the dark side of Force, like the darkness of what she's become and how different she is now, I would believe what she does at the end a little bit more. But in this, up until that moment, she seems like the same person. She's like, oh, I'm going on an adventure. This is fun. This is what you promised me. I was like, oh, okay.
Even Han doesn't really get developed all that much. No one really does. They're all the same people at the start of the movie.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Han is the same at the start as he is at the end.
Yeah, like, the only change is that Han knows a little bit about the world he's just got himself into.
Mm-hmm.
Still the same person.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of those problems that I had with the movie, but overall, when I, like, look at it as a whole, I find a lot of enjoyment out of it. And not just that, it's when it comes to the whole aspect of how we're dealing with these characters, I guess, right? And how we want to deal with the story and where these characters are going. Like, for the first time in a Star Wars movie, Chewbacca has something to do.
Yeah.
Like he actually has a story.
Like the first Disney Wars movie. got something to do.
Well, even in the originals, I would say he was always just the sidekick, like pet guy.
Yeah.
Like he never had much to do. He was always like, "All right, Han, what are you doing? I'll follow you along." I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess."
And now it's like, I'm going to follow you, but I might just go over here for a second.
Right? Yeah, that was quite an issue. So,
Or he'll just get chow with him. As weird. I'd love to know where they got the idea for that from.
yeah, that was
Who
a
in
little
that-
weird.
Like, who in that room went, like, I know, we're going to have them shower together.
I think that was like one of those things where like, what can we possibly do to add some of that humor? We need a comedy scene right here, so add this scene in here. I was like, all right, it's fine enough. And there's also the scene where Han is talking Wookiee, which I thought was kind of hilarious too. It's like, oh, okay, that's how he understands. He can kind of talk it. So
Yeah, that was one of those moments where it was really silly because it's a grown man being like,
yeah,
it's just like, that's a really weird thing to see, but it worked for what they were trying to do. Which I thought the scene where they found each other, where he was thrown in that pit, and like that's the explanation of why they're friends, to actually be one of the better parts of the movie.
yeah, it makes sense. And like, I love how how we have the moment where he's kicked down in there, and you totally knew that was Chewbacca. Like they were trying to set it up almost like it's the Rancor or something, and you knew the way that was gonna go. And I like it, and I like that Chewbacca. He's pretty tough. Like this movie really makes him tough. Like you finally see why a Wookiee is so strong, why people are afraid of them. So
it's implied that Chewie's eating people.
Yeah, it is.
Just like he's not this big cuddly dog anymore. He actually eats people.
Well, we actually see him rip off the arms of the dude, so I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's still salty at the chest thing in the Millennium Falcon. No holograms.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. The other thing I liked is it's as badly as lit as like some of the movie scenes are and stuff. I love that at the end, the big climactic battle of the film is 3 people hiding behind furniture in a office.
Yeah, that was strange. The set pieces in this are really strange. Like, why has the Empire got a train? They have spaceships. It was a cool set piece, but like, why did Sandy Newton have to die? She did nothing. I don't understand why she went. And yeah, the whole office thing is just like, okay, it was fine. It was nothing amazing, but
no, like, because you could tell that suffered from the reshoots, and I got the we know that there was different pieces to this movie. Like the different actor, like it wasn't Paul Bettany that played the main villain. He was like brought back during the reshoots. So maybe it was a more grandiose battle at one point, but I think the way it ended up, I was like, I am perfectly fine with this because it's like it's not a movie about the galactic scale and scope of it. It's like it's a movie about stealing things from underneath the spice mines of Kessel, right? And that's like what the movie's really about. It's like get this dirty done job done. It's like, all right. I mean, sure.
It's literally like everything you would ever think a solo movie would be about.
It is.
Oh, he's said and done. He said he's done certain things in the old movies, so this movie has to be about that. Like it's the Kessel. I'm surprised the Kessel Run wasn't bigger. It's just, oh yeah, that's just a thing we did. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
we cheated. The ship's not actually that quick. We just took a shortcut.
Exactly, and I like that because it kind of like subverts some of our expectations. And what else I thought was really good about it was when they do that, it lays out the entire Han Solo story that we kind of get all those mentions of. Even like in Empire Strikes Back, I think it is, where C-3PO interfaces with the Falcon. And he's like, oh, this ship has a, like he mentions like it's a different, like there's an AI in there and has a funny accent, like a funny sounding voice. And I was like, oh, they even explain why the Millennium Falcon is like that. I was like, was that needed? Probably not, but they explained it. So I kind of love that.
What they're basically saying is the Millennium Falcon is an SJD, so it's a social justice droid.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've seen that going around. Oh my god, which that's always been a point of Star Wars. Like, even in New Hope, they mention how droids aren't allowed in bars and things like that. So I was like, they just chose to tackle that on more head first, which I guess, I don't have a problem with it.
She, like, that character was probably the biggest problem I had. See, I don't know, it felt really weird, and it was not really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, like, she's a thing, and clearly, apparently, her and Lando are a thing. I don't know how that works, but okay.
Yeah, that was weird. That was very, very weird, I would say. I wasn't...
It's like, you got all these aliens, but you choose the robot? Fine, that's cool with me.
Yeah.
You Lando.
It is a weird way that they dealt with it, which was... But it wasn't, like, fully implied. It's like that Orlando, because people are like, oh, he's Pan, this and that. I was like... I mean, he literally calls the droid that's pouring him a drink, babe. I was like, all right, it's... he's just kind of... He's talking like that to everybody. And when you go back and watch Empire Strikes Back, it's clear as day he's a womanizer. And they've made that a point of being like, yeah, we kind of just based him on a, womanizing character back in the 70s. I was like, well, yeah, it kind of shows in there. So they kind of just stuck with that here, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's part of his character, isn't it? Like, why...
Right.
I'm sure these days you could maybe try and shy away from it, but why would you?
Mm-hmm. Why change any of that? Which, honestly, I think was pretty good how they handled Lando. I thought Solo was great. Chewbacca. Woody Harrelson's character. He was Woody Harrelson-y.
Yeah. No doubt he'll be a character in Venom, so...
Yep. And I guess there's a lot of the other... like additional stuff to kind of flesh out somewhat of what this universe is. We finally see Corellia. It's cool.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Coruscant, just not as high rising buildings. So like the dingy parts of Coruscant.
I would say I saw it, but it was so dark. It's just like, okay, no, everything's all backlit.
Once I saw it in 2D, it was a lot clearer. Because 3D, I was like, oh god, everything's so dark and like, there, I guess, is the best way to explain it. But I think Solo, as a whole, it's a movie I enjoy. It felt a lot more like an Indiana Jones space adventure than anything else, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, it definitely... No, it's kind of like what I've been asking for at the same time not been wanting. Like, it's the typical, it's everything going into it because it's the obvious stuff they're going to do. Yep. But at the same time, it's that very far removed. Like, you could quite easily take Han out of this movie and it's still a good movie.
Oh, yeah. And
still be a good Star Wars movie. So it works in that aspect, and I'm happy with that.
Exactly. And they also do those things that we make fun of other things doing, where it's like they mention something that's so obvious that it's pandering to the people that know it, and then they literally almost look at the camera and pause for 2 seconds. Like, Beckett's at one point, he's like, I hear there's a guy on Tatooine. And the Solo's like, why Tatooine? Wow, he's running up a mission. I was like, come on. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, there is moments, like, really. But the worst one's at the start when he's about to leave, and he's like, who are your people? And he's like, I don't have any people. Oh, okay. So it's Han, Solo, wink. And it's just like, who signed off on that one?
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Yeah, it's so weird. And then going on to, I guess this is the big spoiler. If you're here so far, you've probably seen it everywhere, but Darth Maul is in this movie for 15 seconds, and he just goes by Maul now, and he's the one that runs the Crimson, I guess, drug empire, or Crimson, whatever you're going to call it.
Crimson Dawn, Crimson Sun, something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember what these crimes indicate things, but... I mean, it's cool. It's, it's more like, oh, look, you got to do homework now. You've got to go watch Rebels and Clone Wars or whatever the hell he's been in.
Yep.
Read these 1,000 comics that we have explaining where he's been and why his legs are like this.
And that's the thing. I think it's clearly a setup for another movie. And I think they're probably going to do a Maul movie, because if they don't, then that's just a dead end, because there is no way Han Solo can face Darth Maul or ever come into contact with him, because then he would know about the Force. He would believe in it. because all that back history would be dropped. So I think this is definitely setting up another movie. We're probably getting a Maul movie or something along those lines where they're going to go into it, because Solo sequel with Darth Maul doesn't make any sense at all. It can't even fit the canon. It just doesn't make sense. So
Solo doesn't make sense because that box office is an oof.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's either going to be a setup for the Boba Fett movie or for the Obi-Wan movie.
True.
The Obi-Wan movie would make more sense. The Boba Fett one fits with the whole crime stuff and bounty hunters.
So that's the thing. As much as the Obi-Wan movie is the one it makes the most sense from, then we already know his ending because Rebels literally deals with Darth Maul's final moments. So it's like, you can't retell that. So it's like, is it just before Rebels ever takes place, they're going to do an Obi-Wan Darth Maul? It's like, they meet each other, then Darth Maul survives, and he goes away, and then people are like, oh, they're going to be a sequel. It's like, well, no, he dies. Like, it's such a weird situation. Unless Maul literally ends with them recreating, like, the scene in the Obi-Wan movie or something, or the Maul movie from Rebels, which would kind of, I guess, be cool, but then there's so much backstory you have to dump in exposition. It's so confusing. I don't even know.
You just take the comic book editor notes and you just have a little box pop up being like, check this out. This happened here.
Yeah.
Like, just check movies work. Like, here's your homework. Like, do this. Watch this thing. Read that. Read this 1,000-page novel.
Yeah.
Of why he chose spider legs.
Oh God, I remember the spider legs. I hated those things. Ugh. Like the normal 2 legs on him, which he has in this movie. So, well, I guess we'll find out more about Solo sooner rather than later, and what the future of that franchise is, if anything. I mean, I don't really know.
It's tanked unless like it has legs, which we don't tis for more.
The biggest argument I make is Captain America and the first Thor were never big hits. They barely made over their budget to make a small profit, but Disney recovered and they stuck with them, and they made money. Like Ant-Man only made like $50-60 million in profit. Doctor Strange like $100 million. If Solo can even pull out a $50 million profit, I think the franchise will continue. And I think it has ability because there's nothing in the next like 3 or 4 weeks. So like it might have a shot at maintaining some stability in box office, but it's a matter of if.
Isn't Jurassic World out soon?
It's out like 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, yeah.
3 weeks, fair enough. My only thing with like comparing it to the Marvel movies is it's not a Marvel movie; it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Do you want to compare it to a Star Wars movie that didn't do so hot opening weekend? I think it was Revenge of the Sith, which opened up on Memorial Day weekend, made about $1 billion, but then went on to make 900. So it's not necessarily the end for this movie. Like, you have to wait until it does finish its run. But at the moment, especially overseas, it ain't looking good.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
That's what you get when you release a movie like that on a football final.
Yeah.
They moved Ant-Man. This is a perfect example of why.
Yeah, some terrible choices have been made in regards to their entire scheduling. So I guess that was our Solo spoiler talk. So yeah, topic number 2.